Hey everyone, and welcome to the Heaven on Earth podcast, where we explore scriptures, theology, and the heart of God for every nation. I'm your host, Patty, and today we're diving into one of the most pivotal moments in the books of Acts, and dare I say, in Christian faith, Peter's rooftop vision in Acts 10. This wasn't just about animals on a sheet, it was a vision that would shift the early church forever. So let's unpack two prominent interpretations of this passage, compare them, contrast them, and I'll share which one I believe captures both the spirit of the text and the ongoing relevance of God's word today. So, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to go over Acts 10. Here we see Peter, who's in Joppa. He goes on a rooftop to pray, and he's hungry, and it's been a while since he's eaten, and he's waiting for food. During this time, he falls into a trance. In this vision he receives, there's a sheet that comes down from heaven full of all kinds of animals, clean and unclean. A voice says, "Arise, Peter, kill and eat." But Peter refuses. As a devout Jew, and well, he's never eaten anything unclean. The voice replies, "What God has cleansed, do not call unclean." And this happens 3 times. Then the sheet goes back up to heaven. Right after this, a messenger arrives from Cornelius, a Roman centurion who's also a Gentile, and everything begins to click. First, let's go over one specific interpretation, which is Polehill's interpretation. So, Polehill sees this vision as deeply connected to Jewish food laws. Yes, it's about Gentile inclusion, but it begins with dietary rules that symbolize Israel's separation from the nations. The unclean animals represent more than just food, they represent barriers. And God was showing Peter that these barriers were coming down. Peter himself later says, "God has shown me that I should not call anyone impure or unclean. It's not just about the food, it's about the people." But the starting point is food, and that matters. So let's talk a little bit about Dr. Sloan's interpretation on this. So, Dr. Sloan is clear. This vision is not primarily about dietary laws. Instead, the animals symbolize Gentile nations, much like Daniel's visions. This is a transformative, symbolic moment showing that God's grace is now extended beyond Israel. Peter's vision is a theological pivot, an invitation to break cultural boundaries and welcome Gentiles into the covenant community, not through ritual purity, but through faith in the gospel. And that's really important. Now, both interpretations agree on a few key things. First, the vision happens on a rooftop while Peter is praying. A sheet comes down filled with animals, and God said, "Don't call unclean what I've cleaned." The vision prepares Peter to welcome the Gentiles. And it also marks a turning point in how the early church understood God's heart for the nations. Here's a couple of ways that they actually start to differ. So, Polehill begins with the food laws and says that they symbolize the separation, and the inclusion comes through reinterpretation. Sloan, however, skips the food discussion and says that the animals were always symbolic, representing Gentile people directly. Another difference in their views on the Mosaic Law showcase that Pohill leaves space for continuity, implying that Mosaic laws still carry weight in how we understand holiness, while Sloane, on the other hand, emphasizes spiritual cleansing through belief, not ritual purity. So, where do I land on this? Well, I believe the overarching message is this: God is welcoming the Gentiles into his family. But that doesn't mean that Mosaic laws are simply erased or irrelevant. Rather, they are fulfilled, not completed and discarded, but fulfilled in a deeper way through Jesus. The vision wasn't just about food, but food was the entry point. The unclean animals had always symbolized separation. God used the imagery because it would shock Peter into seeing the truth. His old categories were being reshaped. The Mosaic laws around clean and unclean served a purpose. They taught Israel to be distinct, to reflect God's holiness. But now, God is doing something new, cleansing hearts, not just diets. The inclusion of the Gentiles doesn't cancel the law, but it reveals its deeper intent, that God's desire for a holy people from every nation. So Peter's vision wasn't just a moment of personal revelation, it was a divine declaration. The gospel is for everyone. Let's not throw away the foundation that led to that moment. The Mosaic laws weren't a mistake, they were a mirror. And now that mirror has turned outward to reflect the image of Christ in the world. So, next time you read Acts 10, don't just think about the food, think about family. God's ever growing, always welcoming family that now includes every tribe, every tongue, and every nation. Thanks for listening. My name is Patty, and I'm grateful to walk this journey of faith, truth, and inclusion with you. Till next time.